My name is Leila Morgan. I stood quietly by the coffee station in the glass-walled boardroom of Hion West Partners, a real estate investment firm nestled in the heart of Denver, Colorado. Outside, the skyline shimmered. Inside, the air was taut with nerves. Partners adjusted cufflinks, whispered about the surprise merger offer from Rail Company, an upstart firm from the southeast suddenly making waves. My cousin, Tyler Morgan, Hion's managing director, sat near the head of the table, oozing confidence. He thought today was just theater, a prelude to his next win. I'd been here 3 years, on paper, a secretary, neutral dresses, no makeup, hair up, eyes down, invisible. Isla, Tyler called, eyes glued to his phone. Make sure it's that Guatemalan roast. Rel's team actually has taste. None of that warehouse stuff you served the auditors. I gave a small nod and turned to the espresso machine. What he didn't know was that the warehouse coffee had been a test, my test. I wanted to see how Hion's elite treated people they didn't need. The answers had been telling. This time, I brewed a pot from beans grown on my estate in Antigua, the one no one in this room knew existed. My uncle, the firm's founder, entered and took his usual seat at the head of the table. He patted Tyler on the back as he passed, still proud of the nephew who'd supposedly saved the company after the 2016 collapse. Let's begin, he said. Rel doesn't like to wait. They won't push back, Tyler replied, already smug. We've got the leverage. I almost laughed. The figures in his binder were fiction, numbers I'd planted. The real story was in my briefcase. Tyler waved me off. Go, Isla, and don't trip this time. He remembered my first day, when I'd fumbled a tray on purpose, just to see who'd look up. No one had. Not Tyler. Not my uncle. Not the partners. Not one. They used to call me family. Now, they didn't even use my name. But that was about to change. The boardroom door clicked open. The delegation from Rail Company entered, and the room stilled. Tension rose. Every eye sharpened, sensing something more than a merger. Rel's lead attorney, a composed woman in a tailored navy suit, stepped forward and opened a folder. Before we begin, she said, we have documents the board must review and acknowledge. Tyler waved her on without looking. Sure, let's see the terms. Her assistant moved swiftly around the table, handing out thick packets on crisp linen paper. Pages rustled. Then, silence. Midway through the packet, a single line in bold black letters brought the room to a halt. Majority ownership, Leila Morgan. Tyler blinked. What? Heads turned. My uncle frowned and spoke slowly. Leila's just our secretary. I stepped forward, calm. That was the part one played. I needed to understand the company from the inside. What changed? My uncle asked. What didn't? Tyler's face flushed crimson. This is a mistake. No mistake, Rel's attorney replied smoothly. Rail Company was fully acquired last year by Morgan Vantage Holdings, which is wholly owned by Ms. Leila Morgan. I moved to the table, no longer invisible. Yes, Tyler, I said, I've reviewed every number, including the ones you've kept hidden from the board. The silence was sharp. My uncle leaned forward, trying to catch up. You never said anything. No one asked, I replied, and I was always more interested in who people become when they think you have nothing. Tyler was frozen, eyes darting from page to page, searching for an escape. Don't worry, I said, my voice steady. This time I won't spill a drop. But you might, when people start asking about those shell companies you created. His color drained. Leila, that's not. That's exactly right, I cut in. Every fake LLC, every offshore account, every fabricated vehicle you used to hide losses. He turned to my uncle, desperate. You can't let her do this. She walked away, left the family. She doesn't get to come back and… Mr. Harrison, Rel's counsel, interrupted calmly. Over the past year, Ms. Morgan acquired 51% of Hion West's voting shares through a network of diversified holdings. She now has controlling interest. A beat of stunned silence followed. I crossed to the center of the room, lifted a coffee cup, the one made from my own beans, and took a slow, deliberate sip. Much better than the bargain blend, wouldn't you say? Executives scrambled through packets, hands trembling. Some stood, phones already to ears. Others stared at me like they'd never seen me before, which, in a way, they hadn't. Tyler fumbled with his tablet, searching for numbers that no longer protected him. This isn't possible. The projections? Were stories, I said, like the myth of your leadership. And then I sat down, at the head of the table. Where I belonged. You manipulated quarterly earnings, buried liabilities, and funneled pension funds through shell companies to cover losses. I said coldly, did you really think no one would trace the missing 50 million? Across the table, our uncle stared at Tyler like he no longer recognized the man in front of him. You told us those funds were in low-risk portfolios. They were, Tyler insisted, voice cracking. I was protecting the firm's image, preserving investor confidence. By gambling with retirements, I snapped, by risking the futures of people who trusted you, and burying the truth beneath layers of lies. A board member leaned back, pale. Hion West is insolvent. I didn't need to respond. Harrison calmly passed out another stack of reports. The silence that followed said everything. If you're still following, good, because this was never just about revenge. This was a reckoning. Tap subscribe, I murmured under my breath, half a joke, because what happens next is where the real power shifts. I glanced at Harrison and nodded. He tapped a tablet, dimming the lights. The wall lit up with a sleek presentation, graphs, charts, hard numbers. As you can see, I said, stepping forward, Hion West's actual debt is nearly triple what's been reported. Every acquisition Tyler paraded in front of this board, funded entirely by borrowed capital, then hidden beneath a network of paper companies that don't actually exist. Tyler shot to his feet. You had no right to access those records. I had every right, I replied evenly. While you were shouting about coffee and copying, I was conducting a full forensic audit. Gasps stirred through the room like a current. Shock, shame, awe. It's amazing, I added, my voice soft but clear, what people reveal when they think you're invisible. My uncle, once the titan of Hion West, looked like the breath had been knocked out of him. His hand trembled slightly on the table. But Leila, why? He asked quietly. Why go through all this? I met his eyes. Remember 7 years ago, when I proposed a restructuring strategy you both laughed off as childish? I turned to Tyler. You said I didn't understand business, that I wasn't ready. That plan was reckless, he muttered. It would have sunk us. No, I said, you did that, while you were throwing money at vanity deals and chasing headlines. I took that plan, and built Morgan Vantage into a firm 10 times the size of Hion West. My phone buzzed. SEC investigators standing by, ready when you are. I looked up, and the pension fund? That's just the beginning. The SEC is particularly interested in your offshore holdings, those falsified shareholder reports, and I flipped to the next slide. The insider trading. Tyler's face went paper white. I never. You bought Davidson Group shares through a shell company 2 days before the merger, I said. Did you really think no one would notice? Board members leaned away from him. Chairs shifted, eyes narrowed. Uncle Richard, he pleaded, you can't let her. She's not tearing the company apart, I said calmly. She's saving what's left. Harrison rose beside me. Effective immediately. Mr. Tyler Morgan is suspended as CFO, pending investigation. You can't fire me, Tyler bellowed, knocking over his chair. I'm a Morgan. This is my company. Not anymore, I said. Morgan Vantage holds majority interest, and unlike you, I know how to lead without burying the firm in fraud. For a beat, the room held its breath. Then Uncle Richard finally spoke, his voice hoarse. The Morgan name, our reputation. It'll survive, I told him gently. Once we clean this up, once we bring in oversight, transparency, and real governance. I paused. Though it might help if you officially retired, and stopped rubber stamping everything Tyler handed you. Around the table, papers rustled, board members paging through documents detailing the mess, misappropriated funds, cooked forecasts, sham subsidiaries. I lifted my coffee cup. One more thing, I said. From now on, everyone drinks the same coffee, premium roast. The words hung in the air. In my companies, respect isn't reserved for titles. It starts with how you treat the people bringing your coffee. By mid-afternoon, the news had broken. Secretary turned CEO exposes massive fraud at Hion West Partners. The firm's stock was suspended from trading. Reporters swarmed the downtown tower. Questions flooded the lobby. I sat in the corner suite, Tyler's former office, reviewing audit reports from our forensic team. The damage was deeper than we'd feared. Harrison stepped in, eyes grave. The SEC's moving forward. Criminal charges. They're focusing on the pension fund first. I nodded. Make sure they get everything. My phone buzzed again. Mom, please call us. Leila, we didn't know. Uncle David, you always had it in you. Call me anytime. I turned the phone over and stared out the window as Denver's skyline gleamed beneath the afternoon sun. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. As Brooke. Wow, you really showed them. Let's catch up soon. Funny how quickly the tone changes, how those who once dismissed you now circle back, eager to realign. I silenced the phone. A soft knock. My father entered, older than I remembered, holding a visitor's badge like a stranger. They made me get a pass, he said, his voice low, to enter my own company. It's not yours anymore, I said, not unkindly. You let go of the reins long before today. You handed it off, and hoped for the best. He sat down across from me, slow and heavy, eyes cast downward. I trusted him, he murmured, hands folded, the way people do when they realize too late how much they missed. No, I said, steady, you favored him. That's different. He looked up, eyes full of guilt that had taken years to arrive. You favored him after he wrecked 3 ventures and you cleaned up each one. When he sank the European division, you promoted him. When he cut off every woman mid-sentence to say, women don't understand real business, you called it confidence. And you? He asked. Did building all this make you happy? Did it prove us wrong? I didn't answer right away, just looked up from the reports. It was never about proving you wrong, I said. It was about proving myself right. He looked away. When you dismissed my ideas, when Tyler mocked me for lacking vision, I kept building. Something real, something sustainable, something that didn't rely on shortcuts, spin, or your last name. The press is calling you a corporate raider, he said, almost bitter. They don't get it, I replied. I don't tear things down, I rebuild. I take what's broken and turn it into what it always should have been. A stir in the hallway turned our heads. Through the glass, Tyler, flanked by security, clutching a sleek box of personal effects, his designer jacket rumpled, hair disheveled, dignity gone. They'll face charges, I said. Just the pension fund fraud alone carries weight. Dad's face sagged. My son, in prison. Actions have consequences, I said. Maybe if you'd taught him that sooner, we wouldn't be here. My phone buzzed again, another message from the forensic team. More irregularities, deeper fraud, kickbacks, diverted funds, manipulated contracts. Dad sat silently, the weight sinking in. You know, he said at last, I always wondered why you stayed, after we rejected your restructuring plan, took a job as a secretary. You could have walked away. I stayed to learn, I said, from the ground up. While Tyler played CEO, I listened. I mapped the blind spots no one wanted to see. A knock. My new executive team arrived, calm, capable, recruited from Sterling Enterprises. The rebuild was about to begin. It's time, I said, rising. You should go home, Dad. Rest. We've got it from here. He stood slowly, adjusting his tie with shaking hands. Family dinners? He asked. Will you still come? No, I said. Those ended when you and Tyler laughed me out of the boardroom 7 years ago. I let the words sit, then added, more gently. But, maybe, once you've both learned a little humility, we can try again, as equals. In the weeks that followed, Hion West transformed. Tyler's inner circle? Replaced. Opportunists out. Professionals in. The debt? Absorbed. The pensions? Replenished, with interest. The headlines surged. From secretary to CEO, Leila Morgan's bold reclamation. Tyler Morgan indicted in corporate fraud scandal. Sister steps up to save Hion West. But the press missed the point. This wasn't about revenge, or even justice. It was about transformation of a company, a family, a culture. Tyler pled guilty. Dad finally retired, for real. The board was rebuilt with directors who asked hard questions. I moved out of the corner office. Turned it into an employee daycare. It felt like a better use of space. 6 months later, an envelope arrived. A handwritten invitation to Dad's retirement party. Inside, I finally understand what you tried to show us, about building something lasting, about respect. I'm sorry we didn't listen then. Will you give us a chance to listen now? I thought of those boardroom laughs, the long nights, the quiet work. And I remembered what my grandfather once told me. Success isn't in what you take, it's in what you build. I never wanted headlines. I just wanted to be heard. If this resonates with you, drop a comment. Tell me your story. Tell me what you're building. Because we've all been overlooked. We've all been underestimated. Don't shrink. Study, build, and let your work speak. And if you believe in quiet strength, in building something that lasts, subscribe. There's more coming. Because sometimes, the only way to reclaim your voice is to build a table no one can push you away from.